Alright, today we got a 2012 Subaru Outback. I'm going to show you guys how to do an oil change on. Um, Pretty much all gasoline engine cars are all going to be the same as far as the oil change goes. I think it's a pretty important skill to have, and you can't always afford to take it to a shop. So, um, pretty easy to do. It takes about 15 minutes really. Today we're going to be using a car lift, but all you really need to do is be able to get underneath the car. You can use ramps, you can use a jack, um, drive it up on some blocks of wood, anything to gain access to the underneath of the car. So, but for video purposes, it's a lot easier to use the car lift. So, first thing, here we go. So, engine compartment, oil goes in here, and it also states what kind of oil to use. So 5W30, check the oil. I like to check the oil before I change it. A lot of times just to see if you're running low on oil, if it's burning oil, using oil, what color is it, how does it smell. There's going to be a lot of stuff that I like to know. So once you dump the oil out, it's hard to tell. So no oil leak. You can see it's up to that, yep, that little dot. That's the high mark there, right there. And smells just fine. Smells like old oil. So I do like to leave the dipstick out. Um, Also going to remove the oil cap. This will help it flow out, or at least I think it does. I could be full of it as well, but I think it'll help drain the oil. The oil is also warm. The engine was running. This car was, it was just got done driving it. So uh, engine oil's warm and should drain pretty nicely. So we'll get the car up in the air. All right, so we got the car up in the air. Um, this is, looking at the front and back. This is going to be the plug for the oil. So this is the oil pan. So it holds all the oil. This is, most vehicles it is bigger, but it's Subaru, so a little different. This is the transmission pan. Usually you can tell the difference between the two. Normally there's no plug. This transmission pan actually has a plug in it, but most transmissions do not have a plug. So one other thing to note too, so this is the transmission where the axle goes back. That's also how you can tell which one you have. So just make sure you are pulling the correct one. Right here. So we got the most drain plugs, they're metric. So put that on there. Sometimes you got to use a hammer to kind of tap free. So let's set this camera up. How's that? Yeah. All right. So let's see. Want to get kind of a good angle on here. Oop. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. There we go. I'm also using a oil catch pan that has telescoping little rod on it here. So this helps. You can use a bucket. You can use really anything to catch oil as long as it's big enough to hold all the oil that's in the car. So once you got it broke loose, it's pretty easy. Screws right out of there. Shouldn't be difficult to pull it. And as you can see, it's flown out pretty good. So the plug typically has a magnet on the end. You can check to see if there's any fine shavings or anything. That just helps with making sure everything is working properly inside the engine. If you have metal shavings, you got issues. Kind of made a mess here. So, right there, and I'm gonna get some more rags. Some shop towels, shop rigs, they're kind of handy to have. Can get a little messy. Now you can imagine crawling underneath this and trying to do it. Can be a little bit of a challenge. I like to look and make sure underneath the car I don't see any other leaks, no wet spots that would indicate a leak. And if there is a wet spot, I like to see exactly how bad a leak there may be. Looking at the exhaust system, looking for burn marks anywhere that might indicate like an exhaust leak. I like looking at the front end, the steering components and stuff. Making sure everything looks good there. So we're pretty much getting down to a dribble. Clean that up a little. I like to clean the drain plug off, wipe any oil that's dripping, toss this plug back in, and again, once it's plugged, I'll run my rag around it. Just helps keep it clean. Alright. And you don't need to tap this tight with a hammer like when you take it off. Good tug, that's all you need. Don't have to get too wild and crazy with it. Next is the oil filter. So we're going to locate this oil filter. Alright, so if you can see, oil filter right there. So not ideal if it's in a hot place, sticking your hand up in there. So we're gonna be right up in here with it. I like to use a oil filter wrench. This is an adjustable wrench. Makes it easy to grab a hold of. I've used leather belts before. I've used, they make a kind of a rubber strap that you can use. And when all else fails, you can stab a screwdriver right through the filter to use it to turn it off of there. So I'm gonna reach up in here and see if I can't get it good enough to turn. Come on. There we go. Got it loose. It's already dripping. Oh. This is going to be kind of messy just because of the location of it. It's going to be hard not to let it run down your arm, unfortunately. I haven't even got the filter off yet. Just trying not to make a mess everywhere. I want to try to avoid getting oil all over the exhaust system, because as soon as it heats up, it's going to smell like you're burning oil, and don't want to freak anybody out. Alright. So, kind of awkward position here. Kind of learn to be a contortionist when you're trying to get to some of this. Alright, there's the filter. And I made a mess of myself. Typically, I'm not this messy. Trust me. Because everybody's watching me work, I think. Alright. Wedding ring's a mess, too. It's all full of oil. Don't recommend wearing a watch if you're going to be doing this either. Luckily, I don't have a watch on that hand, but if you use the other one, it would have been a mess. Alright, so that's all drained out. And grab the other oil filter here after I kind of clean up the mess I made all over the exhaust. After I just got done saying it's not what we want to do. So, clean. Alright, we're using the Fram Ultra Synthetic. Obviously that's backwards in the camera, but and no, Fram is not sponsoring this video. But if they want to, feel free to hook me up with some stuff. So we got the filter here. I like to take a little bit of old engine oil, so I just dip my finger in it, even though I just had it all over my hands. Dip my finger in it, run it around this rubber seal, this rubber edge. The other thing I like to do is look at the old filter, make sure the rubber seal is back, it is still on there, because they can stick to the engine. So I'm going to get this out of the way so I can kind of show you guys what it looks like in there. So that's where the oil filter goes, is right up into that shiny sealing surface. If there was a rubber seal from the old oil filter, you'd be able to see it stuck to this up in here. And I like to just kind of wipe it off. Got little chunks of stuff on it, but wipe that all off. So this rubber seal, that can peel off of this filter and get stuck on there, and then you'll have an oil leak when you put the new filter on. So the reason why I like to just run some old oil around that filter is it will help get it off the next time you do the oil change, and it also helps it so it doesn't stick to the engine block. So that's the other reason why I like doing that. Set that back up in there. No, you don't have to put oil in it before you screw it back on. It's whatever you prefer. Now on a diesel engine, like a big diesel truck, yeah, you would prime the filter by pouring some new oil into that filter and filling it up. So some cars, the filter is sideways, some of it's at an angle. So filling those filters up, it's not an option. So this one, yeah, I could, but I'm not going to. So it's not going to hurt the car at all. So after that, I like to just take a look, make sure I don't have anything under here that I'm missing. So drain plug is in it, oil filter is in, transmission pan doesn't look like it has any leaks, no seals on the transmission, exhaust all looks pretty good, no issues there. Rear looks pretty good. I like to look at the rear suspension. Sometimes these struts, if they leak, there will be some oil, wet spots on the suspension. Bushings all kind of look good. I'm mainly looking for anything that looks out of place, doesn't look right. So I am no certified mechanic by any means, but you know, I grew up and worked on all my own stuff. I couldn't afford to take it in anywhere. So I do like to look at the tire tread. This is a little concerning. Probably could use an alignment, but it's a little wore down more on the inside of the tire than the outside of the tire. That tells me the camber is off a little bit. Could also be the like a ball joint or something. So, but anyways, like I said, I worked on my own stuff. Didn't have the money to take it in anywhere. So, um, yeah, that's why I think it's important. So right now, next we'll lower the car back down onto the ground and show you where to put the oil in. All right, so we got the car back on the ground. Just gonna review the tools again quick. So a wrench for the Subaru, it was a 14 millimeter. I used a oil filter wrench. You can also use a rubber strap, a belt, anything. This is the oil catch that I used. You can also use an oil catch kind of like I have in the corner there, or even a bucket. So whatever you use, you just got to make sure it's big enough to hold the oil. So if you're watching this video, you're clearly on the internet. Go ahead and Google your year, make, and model of your car along with oil capacity right after it, and that will give you the oil capacity. So I just did that, and according to the internet, it holds 4.4 quarts of oil. So we have 5 US quarts right here, as you can see right there. So we actually have a little more than we need, which is fine. This is Valvoline 530. No, Valvoline is not sponsoring this either, but if they would like to, let me know. Jokes, I'm kidding. Alright, so get that opened up. This is going to be the fun part, trying to do this with one hand. This filter doesn't, the funnel doesn't fit in there quite well. So maybe I can find a place to prop you up at. We'll take a look. So, jam me in the hood of the car here. Perfect. Yeah, that works. I don't know if you guys can hear me still, but pour it in, don't make a mess. There are lines on the jug, so I know how much we poured in there. With the oil filter, it'll probably take, you know, I would say 4.8 quarts, just guessing. So that. More. We'll see how that looks. So, back to the oil. Oh, come on. Pull that out. Looks like we're there. but I do want to start up the car, let it warm up, get the pressure, let it fill that oil filter up, and then we'll check it again. Okay, so the engine ran a little bit, let it warm up, let the oil filter fill up, recheck it. Looks good. So that easy. I made enough. When we change oil, that just wipes right off. It's like chalk. But yep. Thanks for watching.